Okay, so there are two critical points here. Point number one is like this. Take a look at, all right, let's see what happens over, because we may have to spend a day or two on this parsha still before we get on to the next one. Page 94, it's about 8 lines from the top. Vashem pokad esora, right at the big opposite of the big chafaf. If you find it, please show the person next to you. Vashem pokad esora kasher amar. Hashem remembered Zora. Vayas Hashem asor kasher diber. He did as he spoke to Avram Avinu. Vatahar, she became pregnant, and you'll notice that the word pregnant in Hebrew, vatahar, she became mountain-like. A mountain is a har. Vatahar, she became mountainous, which is what happens to women when they become pregnant. They kind of look uncomfortable, and they are. They have men, actually, they have simulator suits for men. Men have actually these body suits that you wear with a little pouch in front where you can drop in a grain of sand every day, a couple of grains of sand to slowly but surely feel what it's like to walk around with 8 or 10 or 12 pounds on your belly. I don't know any men who do that, and they could certainly take it off at night. But that's what Vatahar means. Vatelet Sora la Avram bein li zukunav, she bears Avram a son in his old age, la moed asher diber oso Elokim, at the time that Hashem had spoken. Vayikra Avram Hashem beno anola lo asher yodo lo sor Yitzchak, he names him Yitzchak. Okay, and then right after it says, Vayomal Avram es Yitzchak beno ben shmonas yomim, kasher tzivo oso Elokim. He circumcised him on the 8th day. Now, we spoke a little bit about the name Yitzchak. The name Yitzchak means laughter. Yitzchak comes from laughter. They laughed, and Yitzchak means laughter. And one of the ideas, the idea of laughter, which I think we mentioned it, but just as an intro, where does laughter come from ever? Where you laugh in life when something's absurd? You remember we spoke about that? You laughed at absurdities. If you see a well-dressed man with golden cufflinks and a 3-piece suit slip on a banana peel, you laugh. We even laugh without seeing. You just laugh because it's not funny, but it's just absurd. It's absolutely absurd. That's where the laughter comes from. Here, the absurdity is that how could Avram and Sarah possibly have a child? Avram and Sarah have a child. She doesn't even have, according to the Medrash, she doesn't even have a womb. She's totally incapable of having children. Next thing you know, she has a child. The whole thing is absurd. His name is laughter. So obviously, at a deeper level, what that means is that the entire existence of the Jewish people is laughter. The entire existence of Jewish people makes absolutely no sense. The Jewish people are here. We should have been, by natural laws, we should have been destroyed long ago. And the only reason we survive is because the hand of God has been so blatantly evident in all of our history. People always ask, where was God during the Holocaust? How could God let a Holocaust happen? It's the wrong question, gentlemen. It's the wrong question. The question is, how come Holocausts don't happen more often? If you start with a given, the world is sworn enemies of the Jewish people. The world's been trying to destroy us for generations. It's one sheep among 70 wolves, is the way the Medrash puts it. The 70 nations are 70 wolves who want to rip apart a sheep. So by natural law, of course they should succeed. What stops them from succeeding? The only thing that stops them from succeeding is because the shepherd is there to protect the sheep. So what happened in the Holocaust? German Jewry said to God, we don't need you to watch over us. So it's not a question of, God punished the Jewish people. He didn't punish the Jewish people. God just said, okay, you don't want me here, I'll withdraw. Let's see what happens then. So if the shepherd leaves, then the 70 wolves rip apart the sheep. That's not a miracle. That's natural law. The miracle is that the Holocaust don't happen more often. The miracle is when you find out people who survived the Holocaust with ridiculous ways of surviving the Holocaust. That's a miracle. The miracle is not that the Holocaust happened. Of course it's going to happen. Take away the shepherd, leave the sheep alone with us around with 70 wolves, you're going to get a Holocaust. That should happen. The existence of the Jewish people is a joke. Because the Jewish people is a joke. It's laughter, and we laugh at those who think we won't survive. The West Point Military Academy, the non-Jewish generals will not study Israel's military strategy. Do you know that? They won't use that for military strategy. Why not? Because the non-Jewish generals in West Point military are convinced that Israel's wars have been won miraculously. Can't teach miracles. Can't teach miracles in military. Yeah, well, get the enemy not to pull the pins from the grenades when they throw them at you. And make a joke as they throw the grenade. They'll forget to pull the pin. That doesn't work as a military strategy. In the 73 war, there was a Syrian division, entire Syrian tank division, about 40 tanks. They were coming through the Golan Heights. So there's a guy named Avigdor Kalani who later became a Knesset member. Him and one other tank were up on the Golan Heights. The Israeli tanks where they were using American-built tanks, which were the turret could point down at a certain angle. The Syrian tanks that were down lower, they were up on a ridge. The Syrian tanks that were using Russian tanks, they could only point up on this angle. They couldn't get to those tanks. They were able to get to these tanks, right? So they just had a turkey shoot. 2 tanks knocked out an entire Syrian division, stopped a major advance. And that was one of the turning points of the war. Now, what teach military strategy? Yeah, guys, get up on a ridge and knock out divisions with 2 tanks. You can't teach that sort of thing. So the entire existence of the Jewish people, their history, with all these nations trying to wipe us out, the entire existence of Jewish history has been a miracle beyond natural law. And then it follows with Avram ben Mas Shanabi Velilos Yitzchak. It follows with, in Pasuk Daled, Vayomol Avram es Yitzchak beno ben Shmonas Yamim Kasher Tzivos Elokim. Avram circumcised Yitzchak when he was 8 days old. Now, we spoke once about circumcision, I think in last week. I don't remember when it was. But just remember the idea of circumcision on the 8th day. What's the idea? Why circumcision? Did we speak about this? Sound familiar? Spoke about circumcision on the 8th day. The idea that, I think we spoke about it in Mishmar, right? The idea that 8 is the number which transcends nature. Circumcision is on the organ of reproduction, which is obviously symbolic of future generations. And it's done on the 8th day to show you that your existence of future generations is going to be beyond natural law. The Jewish people are here. We shouldn't be here. By rights, we shouldn't be here. If you were around at the time of Avraham Avinu and you got a prophecy at the time of Avraham Avinu, what the Jews are going to have to get through. They have to get through the Egyptians and the Babylonians and the Greeks and the Romans and what do you call it? And the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition and the Khmelnytsky massacres, the Holocaust, and still be here with all these nations trying to. If you were a betting man, you would bet against us. If you're a betting man, you would bet against us. So why did we survive? We survived completely against the odds. That's what the laughter is, and that's what it means when it says that's the bris milah on the 8th day. Now, take a look at skip down 3 psukim. And then it says like this: Vayigdal hayeled vayigomal. He gets older and he is weaned. And you'll notice what's in the root of the word weaned. He is weaned off of nursing. After 2 years, he's weaned off. What is vayigamal? What's the root of the word vayigamal? What's a gamal in Hebrew?
Camel.
A camel. Because weaning symbolically means he has now been, when you need a camel, you want to cross the desert, you water up the camel, you feed the camel could survive a ridiculous amount of time without drinking, right? The camel's got stores of liquid in him, and he can survive a ridiculous amount of time. But weaning the child after he's been nursed means that you've nourished him now for the journey. You've nourished him for the journey. So he is camel-like because he's been fed for 2 years, and you've symbolically nourished him for the journey. But I think that it's more than just the physical nourishment. It means that when you've nurtured the child for 2 years, you give them the emotional basis to survive in life. They've done studies on children. They had one study. Don't ask me who okayed this study, but they had one study on babies in an orphanage, where some of the babies are just taking care of their physical needs, and other babies are cuddled and they what do you call it? They show affection, physical affection to the babies. And they had a greater survival rate by the babies who had been shown the affection to the babies who were just treated. Now, again, who okayed the study, I don't know. But that was what they had. That's what they showed because emotional nourishment is as important to a person as physical nourishment. A person needs to have the proper emotional nourishment. That's why the Gemara says that if you whiten your teeth to your friend, if you see somebody and you what do you think whitening your teeth means? You smile. Right? You smile to somebody. So the Gemara says smiling to somebody is whitening. The Gemara says using such a whitening your teeth. It means there's got to be a big smile, not just one of these. It's got to be a big one, a big whitey smile. The Gemara says as if you've given him a cup of milk. As if you've given a cup of milk. Now let me ask you a question, Isaac. When's the last time some of you had a friend of yours came into the house? Your friend comes into the house. You either put down a beer, a shot of Jack, or some Pepsi, right? Milk is way down, unless you're Patrick Ewing, milk is way down on the list. You don't remember Patrick Ewing? We did the commercial for Get Milk. So unless you're Patrick Ewing, when's the last time you drank a cup of milk? When's the last time you gave a friend of yours a cup of milk? Hey, how about some milk? What are you? What are you, a health guy? What's with the cup of milk? Bring out a Pepsi and bring out some beer and, let's get busy over here. So the answer is that when the Gemara is very specific, and the Gemara says milk, obviously, because milk is what we always associate with basic nutrition. Basic nourishment is milk. My mother was always on me to drink my milk. I drank Nestle's Quick. I couldn't stand white milk, so I grew up with Nestle's Quick. Then my mother was in a panic for Pesach because there was no kosher Pesach Nestle's Quick. She tried everything. She put in cocoa and sugar. It was horrible. I didn't drink it. Then she even bought a kosher Pesach chocolate bar. She said, take a bite of chocolate and take a sip of milk. So I did 50% of it. Finally, you got the right 50%. Finally it was all supposed to stop to it. My dad just couldn't take it anymore. He just said, forget it. He'll survive the week without milk. Just forget about it. That's why we always liked Dad. So milk is basic nutrition. When you smile at somebody, another human being, and you show him that there's somebody, what you're doing is you're showing somebody that he's got approval in life. Somebody approves of him. That's basic need. That's a basic human need. As basic as the physical nutrition of milk. Therefore, the Lord says you smile at somebody, so you've given them a cup of milk. I once read a thing, if you smile, people think you know something they don't know. You see a guy walking around smiling, people are always wondering, all right, what's up? Why are you smiling? No, I just smile. Just smiling. People always think there's something up because how many people smile? And when you smile, it really works. It works. I read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Fabulous book. What's his name? Dale Carnegie. Yeah, it's a fabulous book. Almost all of the things he says in the book are very much Torah ideas. There's only one difference between his book and Torah, because on the cover of the book it says, you too can get ahead. You too can succeed. You too can make money. You too can, how to win friends and influence people. But the whole point is to manipulate people so that you can get ahead. In Torah, it's to be nice because you're supposed to be nice. So that's the only difference. But the book works. I've tried it. The book works. I've tried certain things in the book. I remember when I walked into the bank, I needed to increase my credit line. So I sat down with the guy who's in charge in the bank here in Israel. I sat down with the guy. And I said to him, I had just read the book again. I read through parts of the book, so I just decided, okay, let's give it a try. So I said to the guy, wow, you must be feeling pretty good about yourself, that you're handling millions of shekels on a regular basis and making big decisions like that. So the guy, he goes, no, it's nothing. It's nothing. And I said, hey, so what do you need? I said, I need to go. So yeah, I said, no problem. I could have probably asked for his banking account at that point. So my wife even said, when I called my wife, said, you shouldn't do that. You're just manipulating people. But it works. And what I want to say is, you don't know what I've done to you, girl. They know. They know. So that's the idea. That's the basic. You come in, all you got to do is say to your wife, wow, you look so nice today. Really? Yeah. And an apple pie when I come home from work, you look really nice too. And she goes, like that, but she'll make it. It works. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I should tell you, you should pay me for this. I'll tell you trade secrets. Try to get your wife's attention. Where are my socks? Where's there a fresh towel? Nothing. She's in the other room. She can't hear you. So I realized they always pay attention when you give them a compliment. They always pay attention. The wives always pay attention. Say, oh, by the way, supper last night was unbelievable. What? All of a sudden he comes running out of the room. Well, what? Yeah, that was really good. That fried chicken was just my favorite. Wow, no kidding. So then I even did it in a way, I still do it to this day, I'll just mumble an adjective without saying, I think, oh, by the way, it was incredible. What? She comes running out. Where are my socks? It's unbelievable. They'll pay attention. That they pay attention to. So the Torah is telling you over here. That that's basic nutrition over. It's basic nutrition for a person. And so Vayigamal means he's gotten that emotional nutrition that is now setting him on the path of life. Okay. Now look at page 96. Vayeira Sagar es ben Hagar HaMitzris asher yolda leAvraham mitzachek. Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian woman, which is Ishmael, mitzachek. Now, the Art Scroll translated as mocking. We would translate it as, mischievous, I think is a better word, mischievous. Take a look at Rashi. Now, Rashi says a remarkable thing over here. Mitzachek, top Rashi, it's the right column, top line of Rashi. If you see it, show the person next to it. It's the very first Rashi on the page in the right column. Mitzachek, says Rashi, Loshon avodas kochavim. We find that expression, mitzachek, when it comes to idol worship. Kimoshe Nemar, vayakumu litzachek. It says that by the golden calf they got up to become mischievous. Dover acher, says Rashi, skip the parentheses, Dover acher, second line, Loshon gilui arayos. It's an expression that's used in connection to immorality. Kimodetema litzachek bi. We find that it's used, the word litzachek bi, Mrs. Potiphar described Yosef's behavior that way. Dover acher, says Rashi, Loshon ritzicha. It is an expression used in connection to murder. Kimodechsiv yakumu haneorim v'yisachaku lefanenu. Pasuk in Shmuel. So Rashi points out, Sarah sees that Yishmael is mischievous. And Rashi says, well, that word is mischievous is involved in idol worship, immorality, and murder, the three cardinal sins. Now, it doesn't literally mean he was doing it at this point, because Yishmael was not yet, if they would have seen that, Avram would have done something about it. It means that Sarah Imeinu saw in him tendencies in this direction. Okay? So what's the first thing? Now, this is remarkable. The Torah does not tell us a word about what Sarah and Avram did for Yitzchak. Doesn't say a word about how they trained him and they put time into him. And you could imagine that after waiting for 100 years, they absolutely babied him and were careful to train him to become a good Jew and everything. The Torah doesn't say a word about that. What's the first act of chinuch, of training the child? The first act that we see, look at the very next pasuk. Sarah says to Avram Avinu, Vatomer le'Avraham gareisha ama hazos v'ezbena. Chase her out. Throw her out and her son. Kilo yirash ben amazos ibidim Yitzchak. He will not inherit with my son with Yitzchak. What's the first thing she does when it comes to raising a successful child? Get rid of the negative influences. You could be the best parents in the world, and you could raise your children and make brachas and teach them Meinei Shmei Rabbah and daven with them. You could do everything in the world with your children. One thing you mess up. You do not block out the negative influences, then it could wipe out all of the good. And in our day and age, it's particularly true. In our day and age, where you have the technology in Torah homes, you're aware Torah homes don't have televisions, Torah homes don't have internet access. Even if the internet is filtered, people keep breakthrough filters. We in our home, we do not have internet, I don't have email at home, don't have television at home, no access whatsoever. Because once you bring that into the home, that could wipe out, it could destroy everything you're trying to do. Everything you're trying to accomplish with your children could be destroyed and wiped out by negative influence. It doesn't have to just be what do you call it? It could be friends as well. A kid has negative friends. We supervise our friends. We raise our children that they cannot go into any home where we don't know exactly what's going on in that house. We have to approve of the homes. Anybody could come into our home. They could bring any friends they want into our home. We've never let our kids go into a home where we don't know exactly what's going on in the home, and there are people that I know what's going on in the home, and I won't let my children go in there. So people are always worried, but what if the people will be insulted? If I tell you your son's going to go into, your 9-year-old's going to go into somebody's home and the kid's going to teach them how to smoke cigarettes, would you let him go in? What if they'll be insulted? What if the parents will be insulted? What if they'd go into the home and they're going to feed them treif? Would you let them go in? What if they'll be insulted? I can't worry about them being insulted. I hope they're not insulted. But I got priorities in life. My priority is my kid. People say, and people have had fights over this. We had one kid in the neighborhood who, I saw this kid from early on. This kid he had sadistic tendencies. I don't know what it was. His parents were nice people. But I always knew that anytime he was anywhere, any cat in the vicinity of this kid was in trouble. And at a certain point, he was a little kid, he was about 6, 7 years old. And my wife also knows, one of my sons was friends with him. My wife called the mother, said, it might not be a good idea. She tried to be tactful. It might not be a good idea for the two of them to play together. So the mother got she said, why, you think there's a problem with my son? She hung up the phone. So my wife is a very, very sensitive soul, and she's very, very delicate. Not delicate, but she's very sensitive. She's not like me at all. And she didn't care because her priorities are kid. You want to be insulted, be insulted. I got to worry about my kid first. I got to worry about my kid. I can't worry about your hurt feelings. Get your kid not to torture cats, and we'll be okay. Why won't you let someone play in my house? Because you have an internet access. Are you saying we're not good Jews? I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying I don't want my kid with internet access. Take the internet out of the house and we can talk. I'm saying anything about you. You want to be dramatic? Be dramatic. I'm not going to sacrifice my kid on the altar of your drama. Are you saying we're not kosher? I'm not saying anything. You have split hooves. You can chew your cut. I don't care what you do. I'm not saying anything about you. I don't care about you. I care about my kid. Yeah, I'm not letting my kid access to the negative influence. You want to take it out, take it out, take it out of your house. That's all.
What if they have internet themselves, the parents?
If the parents have internet themselves, then it's also, I'm not interested in putting it. If the parents have internet, the kids are going to get at it. That's the rule.
No, so the parents have it.
The parents have it. The kids are going to get at it. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Right. Experience shows all parents who have tried holding it off. Number one, there's another issue. It just means that the parents are not on the same wavelength as us. They're just not on the same wavelength. We don't want, because if the parents are there, so that means that in other areas of life, their outlook is not the outlook we're looking for. They're not the type of people, and therefore their outlook is going to pour over, even if it's not just the internet.
You wouldn't let their kids to come to your house?
Yeah, anybody wants to come to our house. Anybody wants to come. Our door is open to everybody. Anybody wants to come to our house because under our supervision, we know what's going on in our house. And then everybody wants to come into our house. Sometimes you'll see a kid who comes into the house, and we haven't had that. I don't remember that experience. Sometimes we'll see kids outside. I'm not thrilled when kids are playing out on the street. Usually I let them play with anybody. They play soccer there. They play soccer. Once in a while you find a kid. I'm just not thrilled. I'm not thrilled about the kid. I'm not thrilled about the way he talks. Something about his behavior. That's rare. That's rare. That's right. Right. As long as the kid's not torturing cats, that sort of thing. But you have to supervise your kids. They were given to you. They were entrusted to you by Kodesh Baruch Hu to raise them properly. That's your job. I can't help it. If somebody else is insulted, I can't help it. It's not my problem. Do it my way, and you won't have a problem. Sometimes you see people in life. Sometimes people in life put you in a situation. I've said this to my kids, especially teenagers. Daddy, why are you upset? Teenagers are like when Daddy gets upset. Daddy, why are you upset? I said, well, if you wouldn't put me into a situation where I have to get upset, then I wouldn't get upset. You're expecting me to work on my midos. Why don't you work on your midos and not take my slippers without permission? You needed slippers, so you just grabbed my slippers, which I've asked you a dozen times not to do. So you work on your midos, and then I won't get upset. What are you putting the blame on me for? Or I've asked you not to do something, and you are doing it. So what do you want with me? I get upset. Now you're blaming me for getting upset. Don't you do it, and there won't be a problem. You understand? So it's a two-way street over here. Same thing when it comes to people. You don't take the internet out of your house. Take the access to television. Take the television out of your house, and we can talk. Don't blame me because I don't have to live by your standards. You understand? But your job. These are just examples. When I moved into my neighborhood in Israel, we had to sign a contract. When we bought a house, we had to sign a contract. We will not have a television in our house. In the 20th century. We had to sign a contract. We won't have a television in the house. That's the kind of neighborhood we were looking for. That's the kind of people they wanted in the neighborhood. Because what happens if you send kids to school, one kid in a school who has a television, 25 other kids are influenced by it. And we don't want that. We want that type of insulation. Okay, insulation was much easier 20 years ago than it is now. And frankly, gentlemen, I do not envy any of you the challenges that you're going to have to go through raising children with the world that you're going to be in. I do not envy you. Sooner or later, so we try to make it later. It's like saying sooner or later he has access to cigarettes, you may as well get it for them. By the time he's a teenager, he'll have access to cigarettes. There's nothing you can do about it. Most kids who start smoking smoke when their parents are not around, not when their parents are around. So you may as well give them a cigarette. So you're asking a good question. So how do you handle it when they do get the access to it? The answer is we try to build up fortifications. We're not naive, and we understand that there's a world out there. And we try to build up fortifications in the absence of the negative influence. We try to build up fortifications in the child that these are things that we're trying to move away from. Now we understand that it's a world where the kid will be exposed. So we tell the kid these are things that are not values by us. To the contrary, these are things that erode our values. Hopefully, we will have fortified him enough that when he confronts it, he will have enough of a ruchni infrastructure and the strength to overcome the temptation. Of course, you're going to face the temptations, but all the societies have said, well, bring the temptations down. It hasn't cured the temptations. To the contrary, in most areas, it just creates more temptations. So we try, and if you look around you, you see that the people who are most successful with raising a kid happen to be in the Torah communities. Doesn't mean we're foolproof. It doesn't mean we don't have our problems. We have plenty of problems, and plenty of issues that we're dealing with. But compared to the rest of the society, it's not in the secular Israeli schools. Unfortunately, 33% of the kids are carrying blades. The weapon of choice are the plastic box cutters. 33% of the kids in Israeli schools. These are secular surveys, not my survey. 33% carry blades, and of the 33%, 50% of those 33% say that they carry them in self-defense. In Haredi schools, there's no blades. No blades. It doesn't mean the kids are angels. Far from it. Far from it. Kids are kids. But the issues that we're dealing with is at a much different level than the rest of the society. There are no teen pregnancies in Haredi world unless they're married, which happens, right? My daughter's in a school with 2,000 girls. Not one of the girls has ever been touched by a boy. I mean, it's not even you understand? It's a lot of it goes to what's the goal? What is your goal? Tell me what the goal is, then I'll tell you what the means are. You see, in anything in life, anytime you present one fact, that doesn't make any sense. That's ridiculous. Well, it depends what you're trying to get to. Depends what your goal is. Depending on what your goal is, we'll tell you how. It doesn't make any sense to segregate your society. Well, it depends what your goal is. Depends what your goal is. My goal is to create a certain type of society. Then segregation becomes one of those tools to reach it. People in the secular are all upset. Why do the Haredis have these separate buses? Men in front, women in the back. Isn't that this? Isn't that that? Isn't that the other? Depends what your goal is. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's all part of a system where we're trying to create a certain type of society, and the members of that society all want it. And therefore, if you all want it, fine. And those who don't want it eventually leave the society, unfortunately. But for those who do want it, we're willing participants. There's no law that we have to sit separate. And there's not even, you can sit anywhere you want on the bus. It says it on the bus. Any seat is available for anybody. And sometimes people do break the rules because they don't want to abide by it. Okay, nothing I can do. I have no legal recourse. On the other hand, most of the people that we associate with have the same life goals that we do. And therefore, it's all part of a system, part of a long-term goal. Okay, so Sarah says, "Get Yishmael out of the house," and Avram sends him packing. That's what the Torah teaches you over here. Now let's go to all the way to the Akedah now. Skipping the next section. Page 100. This is obviously one of the central ideas in the Torah that we constantly come back to is the Akedas Yitzchak. And we have to understand over here. What's really the test over here and how this is working. So take a look at the beginning on page 100. Nisa es Avram. God tested Avram. Vayomer love Avram, Vayomer hineni. Says Avram, here I am. I'm ready to do your bidding. That's what hineni means. Now look at that word Nisa. Look at that word Nisa for a second. Hashem tested Avram. So we say in the Shemona Esrei every day, V'sanes lekabetz gulu yosenu. What does that mean? We say it one of the brachas in Shemona Esrei. Tekabe shofar godol l'cherusenu. Right, sound a great shofar to gather to signal our freedom. V'sanes lekabetz gulu yosenu. What's a nace? A banner. Raise the banner together as a sign. Okay? In any society, if you want to gather people, first of all, you raise a banner. You have a flag. A flag is a signal, right? Something that's noticed by everybody. So we raise the banner. When you raise the flag, it's something everybody's supposed to do. In the military, they always carry the flag up, even if they're getting the cavalry. Even if a guy got killed, somebody else picks up the flag, to hold the American flag up to keep up morale, right? Son nace, like basically you're saying. So the idea of a nace, and here it says, Hashem nisa es Avram, Hashem tested Avram. What's the connection between a banner and a test? And we always talk about human beings being tested. Some guy cut ahead of you in the lunch line. You are now being tested. What's the test? Well, are you going to get upset? Are you going to politely ask him to step back? Are you going to deck him? It's a test. Right? Are you going to just take it with equanimity and just stand there and work on your mitos? It's a test, right? What is the purpose of a test in life? What are we being tested? We're being tested. Why is Hashem testing me? I had enough with my tests in high school. Now, why is Hashem testing me?
See whether you do the right thing.
You mean he doesn't know?
Well, he does know, but see whether you know that you're going to do the right thing.
And what if I do the right thing? What's happened?
Then you know.
Then I know? What's that? More than that?
You've grown as a person.
I've grown as a person. I've grown, exactly correct. So nace, I'm a nace. I am a banner. I've risen high. When you pass a test, you've gone up. When you've been elevated, every test elevates us. The tests are not there just to torture us. The tests are there to elevate us, to raise us, to change us as a person, to make us bigger. So Hashem nisa es Avram. God is testing Avram, but ultimately, what's the purpose of this test? Ultimately, the purpose is to elevate Avram. Avram is about to embark on the most difficult test in the history of man, and it's going to be something that's going to elevate him. Now, let's see what the test is. Vayomer kachna es bincha, take your son. The Medrash says, Avram says, well, I have two sons. Es yechidcha, your only son. So Avram Avinu said, well, each one's an only son to his mother. Asher ahavta, the one you love, I love them both. Es Yitzchak, there's only one of those, right? Take your son, and the Medrash says, each time Hashem spoke to him and emphasized son, it created within Avram Avinu a bond of love to his son that has never been existed by any father, experienced by any father in history. Every time he said, take your son, that instilled in Avram a certain love for him. Es Yechidcha, your only son, boom, more love. Asher Ahavta, who you love. It's like each stage put in Avram Avinu a love for Yitzchak that no father has increased the difficulty of the test. V'lech lecha el eretz ha-Moriah, go to the land of Moriah, v'aleu shem la'olah acharim she'aleh, bring him as an offering on one of the mountains. Now, I want to show you something later on, just to show you the difficulty of the test. Take a look later on, towards the end of the parsha, when he says not to do it. Look on page 102. So, Hashem says to him, towards the bottom of page 102, 4 lines from the bottom. Vayomer al tishlach yodcha lanar. Don't touch him, don't do anything to him. So Rashi brings down that a conversation between Avram Avinu and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Avram Avinu said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I don't understand something. Originally you told me that you're going to give me children, then you said I should take him, now you told me to sacrifice him, now you're telling him not to sacrifice him. Hashem said to Avram Avinu, I'm not telling you a lie. All I said was, bring him up as an offering. I never said sacrifice him. I said bring him up as an offering. I never said to cut him. Right? You understand? That's how Hashem gets out of it. When Avraham Avinu says, why are you retracting? You told me, you're confusing me over here. First you say, I'll give you children from Yitzchak, then you say sacrifice Yitzchak, now you say bring them up, now you say take them down. I understand what's going on. Hashem says, I never intended that you're going to shut them. And the proof is because all I said was, ha'alehu le'olah, bring him up as an olah. Now normally, what does that mean? What does bring him up as an olah normally mean? Sacrifice him. But there's technically room to say, I never said sacrifice him. All I said was bring him up as an olah, put him on the altar. That's how Hashem gets out of it. Well, don't you understand? If Hashem could get out of that, Avraham Avinu could also get out of that, can't he? Avraham could have gotten it the same way. Now look, turn back to where we are. He says to them, V'ha'aleu sham le'olah. So what does Avraham Avinu do? He takes a knife and he's ready to go sacrifice him. Do you understand what the test is now?
Is he going to do it or not?
The test is, can Avraham Avinu say, well, technically, I don't really have to shech him. All I got to do is bring him up as an olah. In other words, Avraham Avinu, the way Hashem got out of it, Avraham Avinu could have gotten out of it the same way. That's the test. Are you going to try to weasel your way out of it? It's like when the teacher says to you, why'd you throw that? I didn't throw it. I hurled it. We've all been there. We've all been there. It's like the kid is caught swimming in a hotel swimming pool. So the guard says to him, don't you see the sign that says no swimming allowed? He says, it's not what it says. It says, no, swimming allowed. Okay, you got me on a technicality. The same technicality that Hashem got out of with, Avraham could also, that's the test. That's exactly the test. Hashem said, are you going to rely on the technicality, or are you going to understand it the way you should understand it, and you're going to shech them? I already said, that's what Hashem wants, that's what I'm going to do. Passes the test. That's what Hashem wants. In other words, Hashem left, the test is so subtle over here. There are many subtleties here. One of the subtleties over here is that everybody could have thought to himself, he obviously doesn't want, he's checking me to see, it's reverse psychology over here. He's saying, shech to your son, he obviously doesn't want me to, he wants to see if I'll understand enough to not shech them, even though he says to shech them. Sometimes in life you got to know when somebody says something, you got to know what they really mean. You understand? Sometimes you got to, when your wife says, you say to your wife, would you like to go out tonight? No, I don't want to. Sometimes that means yes. And then it means yes, and it better be a good restaurant. That's what it means. But she said no. Right. You're going. Take your credit card. You're going. Right? That's what did she really mean? That's part of the confusion with women, is you don't know what they meant. And you better try to figure it out real quick. Right? You just don't know what they meant. She said, yeah, but she meant no. She said, no, she meant yeah. So I don't know what she meant. Okay, this is more dangerous. This is like Kodesh Baruch Hu and Avraham Avinu would love an excuse to get out of it. Hey, he never said to shechtem. But he doesn't use that. He says, Ha'aleu la'ola could go both ways. Hashem means I should shechtem. And he goes off to shechtem. And then Hashem gets him out of it by relying on the technique. Hashem's allowed to. He makes the rules. But Avraham Avinu passes that test, a very subtle test. And he passes the test of saying, Hashem can't, whatever else he means, he can't possibly mean that. Whatever else he means, he can't possibly mean. That's also a test. Now there's a third test. It's a third test over here. You see, the difficulty of the test here is, there's a difficulty of a father shechting his son, right? That's a difficulty. Obviously, you got to go shecht your son. There's a difficulty of the father shechting his only son, and there's certainly a difficulty of shechting your only son when he's born after 99 years. I mean, the whole thing is just preposterously difficult. But there's even a more difficult here. You know what the difficulty is? Avraham Avinu has been preaching against an entire world of pagan worship, which included human sacrifice. He's about to wipe out everything he's ever said to the rest of the world. You're pagans. God doesn't want you slaughtering people. That's not what we do. And now all of a sudden he's about to do it. Oh, for you it's okay? Now for you it's okay. For us it's not, huh? And he's about to wipe out everything he did in the past. He's about to go through the present, which is just the actual act of killing him. And he's about to destroy his future because he's got no children. It's not only a test of the moment, it's a test of the past. You're about to wipe out your entire existence, past, present, and future. You're about to wipe it out. You understand the magnitude of the test? That's the test that everyone has to go through. He's going to wipe out everything he's built up, and he's going to wipe out anything that could be in the future, and he's going to go through the difficulty of the presence. That's what's all-inclusive. That's what's all-inclusive in the test. So Avram gets up early in the morning. Vayashkem Avram baboker. Now, that means two things. He gets up early in the morning. That means two things. What's the first thing it means? I mean, imagine you were told tomorrow, you were told, tomorrow at some point, I want you to walk down the street. There's a motorcycle gang on the corner, and I want you to go up to them, the motorcycle gang tomorrow, and I want you to go up to them and go, boo, 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 fellas, to a group of Hell's Angels who have their motorcycles across the sidewalk. That's all I want you to do. Right? Or to go, make what are like a blood sign? What are their blood? If you go up to the crypts and make one of those blood signs like that. That's all I want you to do. That's it. What do you think you'd think about that night when you went to sleep?
Wouldn't sleep.
You wouldn't sleep, yeah. You wouldn't sleep. Anybody's from those neighborhoods wouldn't sleep. How am I? Pretty good, yeah. The guys thought I was really impressed by that. There's a way you spill out blood, something with your fingers doing like that. Yeah? You wouldn't sleep that night, would you? That night you wouldn't sleep. Right? And if you had to do it, you probably would put it off as late as possible. Like, oh, could I do it any time during the day? Yeah. Okay, what time shkia? And maybe we'll go at 4 in the afternoon. You certainly would get up. Here, you see two things. First of all, Avraham Avinu slept. You know how I know? Because it says Vayashkev. He got up in the morning. What does that indicate? If you're able to sleep when this is happening, what does that indicate?
Nice equanimity.
That's right. You're calm. Hashem wants me to do it. It's all for the best. You have no problem. True faith is the belief that whatever's happening is for the best. Therefore, I have no more. It doesn't move me anymore. Difficulty is good thing. This is what Hashem wants. This is what I do. And he goes to sleep. Sleeps nicely. That's number one. Interesting, right? Most people wouldn't sleep under these circumstances. Imagine a guy who's got to get blood tests. A guy told me once here in the yeshiva he had to be tested for AIDS. He was in a situation where he had to get a test for AIDS. He said he was waiting in the doctor's office for the results. He was not a happy camper. Right? Imagine sleeping that night until you got to wait for the results the next day. That's why Avraham gets up in the morning, and not only gets up, he gets up early to take care of it. Both in one word, Vayashkem. All right there in one word. Tomorrow we continue because there's an essential lesson here.